What if I told you that for most of human history, money didn't exist? It sounds strange, right? We use it every single day, but how did we get here? Let's rewind the clock. In the very beginning, humans lived in small, tight-knit groups. Survival was a team sport. Some hunted, some gathered, some built. Everyone shared because cooperation was the only way to make it. There was no need to put a price on a spear or a basket of berries. The exchange was natural, part of the fabric of daily life. Things started to change when we settled down. About 10 to 12,000 years ago, we discovered farming. For the first time, we could produce more food than we needed right away. This surplus was a game changer. Suddenly, we had extra stuff, and we could trade it with people outside our immediate family. This was the birth of barter. Barter is simple. You trade one thing directly for another. I give you some grain, you help me fix my roof. It worked well in small villages where everyone knew each other and had similar needs. But as villages grew into towns and then cities, barter started to get clumsy. Imagine you're a baker and you need a new pair of shoes. You have to find a shoemaker who just so happens to want a loaf of bread right now. What if he doesn't? What if he needs tools instead? This problem is called the coincidence of wants, and it made trading incredibly inefficient. Then there was the problem of value. How many loaves of bread is a pair of shoes worth? How many chickens for a cow? Every single trade required a new negotiation. It was time-consuming and often led to arguments. People needed a better way, so they started using certain goods as a common medium of exchange. Not because they were special, but simply because everyone agreed to accept them. Think of things like salt, shells, or cattle. These were early forms of commodity money. Around 5,000 years ago, in ancient Mesopotamia, we see a major leap forward. People began using standard weights of grain and, more importantly, silver. They kept detailed records on clay tablets, tracking how much silver was owed or exchanged. Here's a crucial point. Often, the silver itself didn't even move. It was just a unit of account, a way to measure and compare the value of everything else. Money wasn't born as a coin in your pocket. It was born as an idea, a measurement. Metals, especially precious ones like silver and gold, were perfect for this job. They don't spoil like grain. They can be divided into smaller pieces without losing value. They're relatively easy to carry, and they are scarce enough to be valuable. For centuries, people would weigh out bits of metal for every transaction. But this was still a bit of a hassle. You had to have scales, and you had to trust that the metal was pure. Then, around 600 BCE, in a kingdom called Lydia, which is in modern-day Turkey, another genius idea emerged. Someone decided to take a piece of metal, guarantee its weight and purity, and stamp it with an official seal. The coin was born. This was revolutionary. Coins spread like wildfire across the ancient world because they made trade incredibly fast and reliable. You no longer had to weigh and test the metal. If it was a coin from a trusted authority, you accepted its value. Trade boomed. Empires were built on the back of this simple, powerful innovation. For thousands of years, money was tangible. It was a physical thing, a gold coin, a silver piece that had inherent value because the material itself was rare. The amount of money in the world was naturally limited by how much gold and silver could be mined. But carrying round bags of gold and silver is risky and heavy, especially for long-distance trade. By the Middle Ages, merchants found a clever workaround. They would deposit their gold with a trusted goldsmith for safekeeping in return. The goldsmith would give them a paper receipt. Soon, merchants realized it was much easier and safer to just trade the paper receipts instead of fetching the gold for every transaction. As long as everyone trusted that the paper could be redeemed for real gold, it had value. This was the birth of paper money. Initially, every single banknote was a direct claim on a specific amount of gold or silver held in a vault. It was just a convenient substitute. Governments eventually took over this system, issuing official paper currency that was, in theory, fully backed by their metal reserves. This system, known as the gold standard, lasted for a long time, but in the 20th century, it began to break down during major events like world wars and the Great Depression. Governments needed to spend far more than their gold reserves allowed. to fund their efforts. They needed to print more money. Gradually, the link between paper money and gold was weakened. The final cut happened in 1971. The United States officially abandoned the gold standard, and the rest of the world followed. From that moment on, our money became what's known as fiat currency. Fiat is a Latin word meaning "let it be done." Fiat money has value simply because the government declares that it has value and because we all collectively agree to accept it. It's not backed by gold, silver, or any physical commodity. It's backed by trust. Trust in the stability of the government and the economy. Today, most of our money isn't even paper, it's digital. It exists as numbers on a screen, and new money is created primarily when banks make loans. When you get a mortgage for a house, the bank doesn't take money from a vault. It essentially creates new digital money in your account, which you then use to buy the house. This system allows economies to be much more flexible and to grow faster. But it comes with a side effect. Because money can be created much more easily than mining gold, its value tends to decrease over time. We call this inflation. A little bit of inflation is actually a design feature of our modern economic system, not a bug. So from sharing within a tribe to bartering surplus grain, from weighing silver to minting coins, from paper receipts for gold to digital numbers on a screen, the history of money is really the history of human cooperation and trust. It's a story of finding ever more efficient ways to represent and exchange value. Understanding this long journey helps us make sense of the financial world we live in today. It shows us that money has always been an evolving technology, a tool we invented to solve a problem, and just like any technology, it continues to change. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey through time fascinating, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about how our world works. See you in the next one.